Welcome everyone to week 2 of the LCS Lock tournament and LEC predictions. We've got 30 results from last week, we've got 15 games to predict. Let's just mosey on into things as we get into our results. So, let us breeze through last weekend's results. As I said, 30 games in total. We did reasonably well altogether, starting on with the LCS. Day 1, 4 out of 5, only dropping the Golden Guardian C9 match. Day 2, 2 out of 5, only picking up the TL Dig and EG-CLG matchup. Day 3, we got 3 out of 5, we dropped the 100 Thieves FlyQuest match and the FlyQuest Golden Guardians match in terms of our predictions. As for the LEC, starting off day 1, 4 out of 5, we only dropped the Mad Vitality game. Day 2, 4 out of 5 yet again, we dropped the Vitality Fnatic game, starting to see a trend here. Day 3, we only picked up 2 out of the 5 games. Rogue Astralis and SK Fnatic were the 2 predictions we got right there. So overall, our totals look fairly good. LEC stands with 10 out of 15, and the LCS stands with 9 out of 15. Over 50% for pretty much a solid stack of games. Now this week we've got only 15 to discuss, so let's just jump into the LCS right now. So, you may be wondering why there is only 15 games. Well, the LCS is going into Quarter Finals on Saturday and Sunday as best of 5s return. That being said, they do have 5 games on the Friday to warm up pretty much every team bar a few as they head into these quarters. So, let's discuss our opening matchup, Dignitas CLG. This one I feel could go either way, but I've edged it out to Dignitas. These two teams have not played the same amount of games during the knockout stages. Dig have 2 games today, and as such, they're going to look to beat CLG, who I predicted to be bottom of this group. That being said, Dig could also finish bottom of this group because their other game on this day is not impossible for them. But as we load into it and this prediction, I think Dig will win here against CLG. I feel they had the better performance against IMT on day 2, and they should realistically narrowly edge it out against CLG here. So, it is time for our matchup of the week. It's the other 2 top teams coming into this split. 100 Thieves taking on Cloud9. And originally, I thought this matchup was going to be 2 undefeated teams. However, 100 Thieves lost to FlyQuest, even though they are technically already qualified for the knockout stages. Now, on top of this, 100 Thieves have been experimenting with their roster. Tenacity stepped into the lineup for day number 3, and he didn't perform badly, though 100 Thieves managed to lose their first game with him in his lineup against FlyQuest. As for C9, they are showing up very well. The Academy roster is very strong if you include Zven. And granted, they are using Fudge in the mid lane, which gets him more practice in a new role for him. I really didn't have too much high hopes for C9 coming into the lock-in. Now that we've had, well, a few games with the C9 roster, and then picking up the pentakill against FlyQuest, the team that did beat 100 Thieves, we are starting to see some strengths. That being said, I still feel that 100 Thieves will look to step it up to secure first spot in groups, and hand C9 their first loss of the lock-in tournament. That is my honest thoughts and prediction here, I just feel Sunday's going to come into the roster. We're going to see a decimation in the top lane, and Darshawn probably will resort to tanks, and Sunday possibly will go like a carry. I know neither of them realistically are known for big carry tops. Granted, Darshawn probably was in the past, but he isn't now. They're more so known for these tankier top engage heavy plays like the Orns, or the Scions, or the Gragas's. That's the sort of picks I'm expecting up there. Jungle, this should be where you see some playmaking coming from, however, not so big of a fan. Mid, Fudge probably will look to just get that gold advantage and then continue to carry the rest of his team by providing them gold leads by making plays. And then the bot lane, Sven is a solid player going up against FBI. I think that does favour neither of them. It'll have to come down to support play, which I think he is the better of the two supports in this matchup. So, as a whole, I'd edge the teams out to 100 Thieves, though don't be surprised if C9 absolutely dismantle them. Now we have a matchup with two teams on different trajectories. Team Liquid take on IMT here, and Team Liquid looking to contest first spot or guarantee themselves second with a win here against the IMT squad, who are sitting dead last in this group. Do I think IMT will pick up a win here? No. I've gone with a Team Liquid win. Realistically, IMT have been kind of the shock performers in this lock-in tournament, due to the fact that they have not picked up a win yet. You look at the names on this roster, Wild Turtle and PoE pretty much are very phenomenal players. They made it to the Summer Playoff Finals and lost there inevitably to TSM on FlyQuest, and now they're not performing too well or too hard in the lock-in tournament, the place where you gauge your strength against the rest of the competition in spring. That being said, they could look to bounce back in the actual spring split, but time will tell. Now, with that all said and done, let's move over to our next prediction. It is time for a relegation battle. Win this and you finish third in the groups. Lose and you go out. TSM take on the Golden Guardians here, and realistically, you have to put favor into the Team Solo mid lineup here, as the Academy team takes on the Golden Guardians Academy. And this is pretty important to note. TSM have beaten a team in this stage. Golden Guardians have not. So, stylistically pleasing, an Academy team has beaten a main team. TSM have done that. However, you then have to realize that Golden Guardians, they're going to be bloodthirsty into this matchup. They have nothing to lose. They'll throw it against the wall, and so we could expect explosions and possibly Golden Guardians knocking TSM out of the lock-in tournament. Our last LCS prediction in this video is EG versus Dig. Dignitas' second game today, and they drew the short straw of being the only team to have two matches on day 3. Now, will that benefit them? Yeah, slightly. They'll be warmed up, ready to go. However, obviously it does favour EG because they get to practice solely for one opponent. And if Dignitas do lose to CLG, they're essentially knocked out of the groups and of lock-in. Whereas EG win this and they're guaranteed first spot. If TL do lose, however, earlier in the day to IMT, then Dignitas and EG basically becomes a friendly game, as neither team can basically get anything. However, that is important to note, as if it goes to kind of the meme game, then realistically EG will decimate no matter what. And if it's not a meme game, EG will decimate no matter what. EG have probably the best squad in the group stage. They dismantled TL in our matchup of the week, and they're going to dismantle Dignitas. Pretty simple, pretty easy to predict. Let's move on to our next game. LEC time! We kick it off with Misfits taking on XL. Honestly, this matchup and this day was very hard to predict. A lot of back and forth matchups, especially considering the forms of these teams during day 1, 2, and 3 of the LEC. So, let's kick off with XL Misfits. Misfits have a lot of expectations, considering they lost some of their big players. izlogic is no longer with the lineup, neither is Kobe and Vanda. So basically, they lost a lot of their core pieces, and now they're having to perform with kind of what could be considered second-rate players. And as such, going up against XL, who kept the majority of their roster and only brought in Finn, who has been by far their best player this split, it can be considered a very even matchup. Now, Misfits gate-kept XL out of playoffs last year, and do I think they can do it again? No, I've actually gone with an XL win. They beat Vitality. Granted, that isn't that much of a feat, considering the fact that Vitality are 0-3, but they have done well. They performed exceptional in that matchup, and I think that they'll continue that form up against Misfits. Fnatic Astralis is game number 2. I have no hopes for Astralis, so what you gonna do? I predicted a Fnatic win. This team looks nutty and it's really, really good, honestly. Personally, you cannot go against Fnatic at the moment. They are on form. Wonder has just been smurfing. Humanoid is ramping up in performances. LeBlanc should not get in his hands. That's basically how you're going to have to beat Fnatic, is by not giving them comfort. And that's very hard to do, considering they can carry from pretty much anywhere on the map. Even Hillasan can carry. And yeah, let's just say Fnatic are going to be hard to beat this year. So, good luck Astralis. SKG2. This is honestly a good matchup. You've got Jesu and Treats who are on form, going up against the G2 roster that's fresh off a loss to Mad Lions. And yeah, G2 were looking very dominant during their opening 2 games, to then having a close brawl with Mad that just ended up getting out of their grasps. Now, this matchup realistically can be considered very close, and again, you have to pan into the bot lane like normal. Jesu and Treats have found form, and Flurkid and Targamas really, I don't think have shown too much during this split so far. So this is where I think that we're going to have to see the G2 bot lane step up if they are to be SK, which is my prediction, G2 winning, but it is going to be close, and I realistically want to see SK perform exceptionally well. It's time for French battle numero 2 as BDS take on Vitality, and this is an interesting matchup to say the least. Last week we looked at Vitality in our matchup of the week, where they got dismantled and pulled apart by Fnatic's draft. This week, you have to realistically think Vitality need to bounce back, as Perks takes on his former coach in Duffman and Grabs in this basically good old brawl. Now, I personally feel that this matchup should go to Vitality, and they should win quite handily as they're going up against a few rookies. However, I have not gone that way with my prediction. Vitality are losing for a 4th time this split. That is how I think it's going to go, unfortunately. And the reason I think that is Grabs knows how to draft against Perks. This man has studied his former ADC slash mid laner, and he's gonna absolutely dismantle him without even having to play himself. Xmatty, I don't think has shown too much just yet during this split. He's kind of been very tentative and not his all-star carry performances that we know him to do in the RL leagues. Now, he is paired alongside Limit, who has been resorting more to the enchanters instead of the engage-heavy go-in-dive supports like the Leonas and the Rakans that we can see him play normally. So I think that we'll probably see a different switch up in the style that BDS can bring coming into week 2, which is going to probably upset Vitality here, and that's kind of why I've gone with BDS winning this. Friday's last game is Rogue vs Mad. Almost a rematch of the summer finals, but it is instead the rematch of the spring finals. Two teams, arguably the new generation of the LEC, and arguably this is going to be a close one. Rogue, like normal, do well during the regular split, and they are undefeated right now, whereas Mad tend to be a bit more scrappy, and that's what we kind of saw with how they performed week 1. However, they did beat G2, which is a big sign that Mad are going to perform in these larger case matchups. Coming up against Rogue though, who made some major roster changes that honestly could be considered downgrades, are doing well. All things considered, they're being brought into the Rogue style of play, and that is showcased by how Malran is jungling. He is picking up a more playful lane style, even though Selfmade was slightly more greedy and selfish. He is instead being a bit more greedy and selfish by helping his lanes. Now, I think that's going to be a huge factor in this matchup, as Elyoya on the other side is playing like an absolute madman. By far the best performer on this Mad lineup this year. He is literally in his second season of LEC action, and that is showcasing the strength of this player. And it's going to be a close one. I still feel Rogue will edge it out, even though Mad, I think, will step up in this matchup. We move on into our matchup of the week here in the LEC, as SK take on XL to open out day 2. And I think it's best that we focus in the storyline right now for this matchup. Jezu and Treat reunited behind an actual jungler. This is kind of the big story about SK right now, is Treat's return to the lane, and he is showing why he is such a dominant player in the support role, and kind of a shame we didn't get it for an entire split. Now back though behind Gilius, this roster is looking to take down a squad that's never made it to playoffs in what could be only considered a 5th, 6th place battle. Now, I honestly am very biased considering the fact that XL is a British team, but I still feel that SK will win this, and that's purely because of the strength of the bot lane. Going up against XL, who made nil changes to their lineup bar bringing in Finn, which is an upgrade, it's not realistically enough, I feel, to beat SK. Though I still think that this is going to be close, and it's kind of one of the big reasons why we're looking at this matchup as a whole. So we enter our second matchup of day 2, Mad versus Astralis, and I want to keep this one short and sweet. I've gone with a Mad win. I still feel Mad can contest for a top spot this year, though I still feel they're not as strong as Fnatic, and Rogue are the kind of the kings of the league. I still feel that they will outrank them going into playoffs, where that's where we'll see the map lines rise. BDS versus Rogue. Yeah, I'm not gonna dilly-dally on this one. Rogue's my prediction. It's just, I don't see it happening for BDS here. I'm not going result-based analysis, but Rogue probably will win. It's just, oh boy, it's Fnatic versus Misfits. Razork versus BTO as he faces off against his former teammate. I, for one, am really looking forward to this. So much so, I'm thinking this would have been matchup of the week if it weren't for the fact we covered Fnatic last week. Yeah, Fnatic realistically have a lot of strength, and so do Misfits. I just feel that Fnatic are a little bit more fine-tuned at the moment than Misfits. Misfits are a bit more sporadic and hard to control and to predict to win, whereas Fnatic are a lot more controlled. Granted, Hylissang is on the team, so it does make the, he is the outlier, shall we say. Let's just say, I still feel that Fnatic will win, and they're expressing a lot of different styles, and that's kind of what makes it so good. While on paper this is a hype matchup, form kind of puts a damper on it. It is G2 versus Vitality. Let's just run through the lanes and then give you the prediction. Alphari versus Broken Blade. Two of the best top laners Europe has ever produced, whom I don't think have actually faced off against one another, considering the fact that Alphari went to NA for a season, but obviously Broken Blade in the same time went back to EU, and obviously Broken Blade before that was in NA and then Alphari in EU. So they've kind of ducked each other for a while now, and they're very solid top laners, you have to put it down on paper. Broken Blade can play pretty much anything in the top lane. He can play Riven, he can play Corki, as we've seen. He can play any solid top lane carry. As for Alphari, he is a lane king. He pushes, he gets dominations and decimation. All scores against his other top lane opponents. But I think this is going to be quite hard for him to do, especially up against Broken Blade. So, a fairly even matchup in the top lane. Jungle. Yeah, Selfmade versus Jankos. The Polish brothers, I would call them, as the two kind of strong top lane junglers. Jankos, obviously S tier, Selfmade A tier. They're very neck and neck though, considering how they like to play. Selfmade obviously is very greedy, whereas Jankos plays for the lanes. And that stylistic difference probably will play a factor in this matchup, as we probably will see Jankos playing topside, putting Alphari behind while Selfmade plays for himself, gets ahead, and then looks to invest later on, and probably target in the mid lane where we're heading into now, as Caps versus Perks. This matchup is something we've not had for a long time. Way before 2019 was the last time we saw it, as Caps face off against his former mid laner / ADC, because both of them have taken a trip down to the bot lane, and it would be nice to see them both play ADCs in this matchup, honestly. But it's going to be close. I don't know who is the absolute favourite here, but I could exactly be saying this is going to be a stalemate in the mid lane. As for the bot lane, this is an untested bot lane against an untested, realistically, bot lane. Kazi versus Flakked. I'd favour Kazi, though it is split Kazi, not playoff Kazi. So it could go either way in that sort of effect. Then you've got the supports. Labrov, a former rookie of the split, up against Targamas, looking for that rookie of the split. It is a close battle. I like both of these players, however, I still have to predict a winner here, and I've gone with G2. Yeah, I'm not giving Vitality any wins this weekend either. And that's kind of sad to say personally, but they should realistically pick up a win in at least one of these games. However, G2 versus Vitality is the less likely one of that happening, but we are going to see some hype lane matchups. And personally, I really cannot wait for this weekend to begin already. So, let's get it ever closer as we round out this video. Please leave a like down below, subscribe, give me a review if you want to, and I will see you guys for our actual Anarchy analysis match breakdown from last weekend. See you guys then. Peace out.